grab a drink and let's talk about the books that I read in May. Okay. I read all of these in the month of May, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I read 10 books. A lot of these were manga because I was just like on a roll with manga this month. Yeah, okay, so let's get started. So the first book that I read in May was If You Ask Me by Libby Hubsher. And I started this at the end of April and finished it like a few days into the month of May. It wasn't what I'd expected exactly, but it wasn't bad either. So see, the main reason that I got this book is because I loved Libby's first book, Meet Me in Paradise, so much. It was just full of emotion, super well written, amazing relationships, friendships, beautiful story. And I thought that this was going to be like an emotional roller coaster as well. And it's the story of Violet, who finds out that her husband of, I don't know, many years, I think it's been over a decade that they've been married. She finds out that he has cheated on her. She's also she's a columnist, and she's been writing anonymously for ever since she got that job. But then just one night she's so mad at her ex-husband, she just rants completely, and the rant accidentally gets published and she goes viral. And the day she finds out that he cheated on her, she sets his things on fire, which requires the fire department to come and take care of the fire because it got out of proportion. And she meets, what's his name again? Des, which I found really like, oh, because my name is Desiree and my nickname is Des, so I came to the rescue. Yeah, no. This book deals with infertility, it deals with problematic marriages, it deals with finding yourself after being attached to someone who was part of your personality for over 10 years, and coming to terms with the fact that you can fall in love with someone else, and that it is okay that you have fallen in love with someone so quickly. Overall, I rated this 3.5 stars just because it felt very, how should I say this? It wasn't anything unexpected. Does that make sense? Like, I expected most of what happened. Of course, there were the occasional plot twists, but it wasn't, her first book was better. That's what I want to say. For me, personally, obviously, because we all have different tastes. I just have 10% left. Okay, we switched angles a little bit because I had to plug my phone, but this is kind of nice. Okay. Know that if this is your first book by Libby Hubsher, she has more potential, and that potential is in her first book, Meet Me in Paradise. I do agree, though, that it was funny, it was cute, it was sweet. Any type of, like, romantic interaction often fades to black, and I don't necessarily mean that as a bad thing. It's just, I don't exactly know how to describe this. It wasn't a bad book, that is for sure. It just wasn't, like, it didn't have much of a wow factor. It had its moments, though. It did have its moments where I thought, like, I knew it was gonna fall. Oh my god. Stop. Sorry. So it did have its moments where I thought, oh, okay, like, she's making up for the slow start. It's gonna pick up, it's gonna, you know, its full potential is about to happen. But then it went, like, full potential coming right at you, and then just kind of falls back. And then it builds back up, and then it falls back. That was my experience reading it. I don't, like, not recommend it. I just say go in very, like, stay open-minded if you want to get through this, because there is a pretty good life lesson at the end. Like, throughout the book, it might not seem, like, super impactful, but overall, there are some pretty sweet and funny and some good lessons in there as well, so give it a shot. You don't have much to lose other than your time. but it's still worth it. So 3.5 stars out of 5. I still enjoyed it. It's just, it's not a wow read, if that makes sense. The next book, don't come at me for this, but yes, I finally just read The Hunger Games. I'm sorry. I've watched the movies over hundreds of times, but I'm only now getting into the actual series because I saw that the 4th book, which follows Snow, is going to be made into a movie. And I obviously have to read it all before I watch the movie. So, Hunger Games Book 1 by Susan Collins. Is it Susan? I think it's Suzanne. In French, it's Suzanne, because there are 2 N's. 5 stars. This was so good. It was so good. First off, they did an amazing job at making the book into a movie. It was fantastic. The only thing that makes the book so much better than the movie is that you are directly into Katniss's mind because it's in her point of view. And the movie, you just see Katniss, like her exterior, how she behaves, just like you're just seeing her be Katniss. You're not inside her head. You don't know what's going on. And so when you read this, you get to see everything that she's thinking, how she's afraid, how she, like, what she's figuring out, how she's figuring out to get, like, sponsors, and all of that, and it's so good. It is truly so good. It's amazing. I don't know what took me so long to read it, and this beauty is a 10-year special edition that I bought at my local chapters, and they didn't have the other 2 books in, like, this design, and I ended up finding them. Wait, I want to show you. I found the set on Amazon. Someone was selling them. These are secondhand, and I got them for $30, and it is worth 50 Canadian dollars. And so see, the first book, which I already had brand new, had some slight water damage, which I don't mind because I already have it. But the other 2, they are brand new. Brand new. Like, no damage whatsoever. And just... they're so pretty. Oh my gosh. I'm obsessed. I am obsessed. That's an understatement. But anyways, I was so happy when I found these. Movies are so comforting. Whenever I want to watch a movie and I don't know what to watch, I tend to watch The Hunger Games just because they make me happy. That's all. This was 5 stars. If you haven't read this, I truly recommend you do. Give it a shot. It's amazing. It's better than the movie, but the movie is also very well done. You get a different point of view when you read this because you are inside of Katniss's head compared to as, like, seeing everyone as, like, an outsider, right? With the book, you're inside of Katniss's head. You get to experience everything through her eyes. And that's so great. It's so good. Next book. I was one of the lucky ones. I got it before they stopped printing it. If you've been wanting to get Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake and you haven't been able to order it off of Amazon, that's because they have completely ceased production, because this was a self-published book and it was just bought like a couple weeks back, maybe 2 weeks or 1 week, I don't know. But it was bought by Tor Books. Is it Thor or Tor? Tor? It's T-O-R. Tor Books. It's the same story as with the Atlas 6, and so they're going to be launching, like officially launching or publishing the new version December 22nd, 2022. So I got lucky and I got it before that happened. This is probably the most annotated book I have thus far. It made me take out my clear post-its for the first time in over a year because I had so much to say. This just, it is yes, there is some romance in there. Like, Aldo and Reagan do fall in love, you know? Like, it's a love story. It's written a love story. But it's so much more than that. There's, like, it's psychological in a way. Like, Aldo struggled with an addiction. Trigger warnings, I suppose I will say. Like, Aldo did try to take his life. Like, he tried to overdose. And then now he's found, like, numbers. He's a mathematician. He likes numbers, and they have helped him. There's Reagan that struggles with the mood disorder, and it's all very, very raw and real, and it's written in such a wonderful way. It was my very first book by Olivia Blake. I do have the Atlas 6, I just haven't read it yet. But trust me, after reading this, I'm gonna read that one. It was the concept of the bees and hexagons being like the root to time, how to control time. Just, oh my god, I don't even have the words for it. You just have to read it yourself to fully understand just the beauty, the intelligence, the writing, oh my god. So you remember when I did my April wrap up, when I talked about small favors, how I said I wanted to get a bee tattoo, and I was like, oh, I don't know, like, I'm not in love with bees, right? It doesn't matter if I'm not necessarily a fan of bees, but you know what? After reading this in Small Favors, there was a honeybee taking nectar. Like, I have a bunch of flowers on my front porch, and there was a honeybee, and I stood this close to it, and I looked at it while it was, getting the nectar. Okay. And after learning so much about bees and how they function, like, I learned a lot about the mentality of bees through this book, and I learned a lot about the work of bees in Small Favors. And I aspire to be like a bee. I'm not kidding. You need to read these books to fully understand that concept. It's so amazing. And I will definitely be getting a bee tattoo. I have texted an artist. I hopefully will be getting an appointment at the end of August. I can't wait. I don't know where I'm gonna do it, but anyways, this was 5 stars. Spectacular. Like, I know some people rated it 4 stars because they said that, like, her writing style was trying a bit too hard, I think. I don't remember who I saw saying that, but I liked it. I liked it very, very much. And I don't have anything against anyone who says that I was a bit too, like, try hard, or it didn't make any sense, there wasn't any plot to it. For me, what I personally read between the lines, I did find a meaning and a plot. And that's what's so fun about annotating and analyzing your books, is that as you annotate, you are getting your mind to read between the lines, because you're trying to figure out, like, oh, what kind of, like, what tab should I use for this? Is this a funny moment? Is this, like, a hint? Is this, like, is it a clue? What is it, right? And that makes your brain try to analyze it. And when you analyze anything in a book, you're gonna eventually, like, read between the lines. And what I read between the lines will probably not be the exact same thing that you read between the lines. And that is what's so great about reading a book that's annotated by someone else. See, I'm doing an annotated book exchange with one of my really good friends, and she is a mystery and crime reader, and I'm a romance reader at heart. And so we're gonna get each other's opinions and views as 2 very different readers on the same book. So I'm gonna see what she read between the lines, and she's gonna see what I read between the lines. That's gonna be so great. Anyways, I strongly recommend that you get this when it does get republished, and if you have it on your shelf, read it now and let me know what you thought of it, because this was so good. I posted a single book review for this because it had me crying at how good it was and how I was so sad that it was over. This is Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. 5 stars to the infinity, okay? This is kind of like Indiana Jones meets amazing romance writers, aka Christina and Lauren. This follows Lily, who is the daughter of this very, very famous, like, treasure hunter. She fell in love with Leo Grady, who was a city boy who came to her and her father's ranch to work during one summer, and they fell in love. And they were together for like 5 months. And then out of nowhere, Leo has to go back home because his mom was in an accident, and then he just never comes back after having promised Lily that he was going to stay there forever with her. And so he never comes back. And then fast forward 10 years later, Lily is not where she wants to be in life. She is stuck doing like these tourist tours using her dad's maps to like do treasure hunts, and like the tourists are cowboys for a week or something. And she's not happy where she is. She doesn't want to keep doing this. She wants to buy the ranch back because her dad sold it, but she doesn't have like, she maybe has $300 to her name. How do you want her to buy the ranch back? The bank won't give her any money because she doesn't have enough, like, she doesn't have any form of actual income other than the tourist job and working at a bar. And then she gets like 4 tourists, 4 clients, and who's there? Leo Grady. And Leo sees her and he's like, well, I'm still in love with her. And so they start off okay, you know, they talk, they clear up the misunderstandings, but that still doesn't make them like end up together right away. Even after clearing up the misunderstandings, they're still like, she's very distant. He's not. He obviously just wants her back. And he is set on never losing her ever again. And then something happens where Lily realizes that her father might have actually found this gigantic treasure. I don't know whose treasure it was again, but it was like $50 million. And so they set off. Him and Lily end up like going together to try to find the treasure. And they're my new favorite trope: only one sleeping bag and only one tent. And they're both soaking wet to the bone because they walked in a river, and so they have to snuggle to keep warm. I love this so much. It was an emotional roller coaster. It was adventurous. I don't know why they've taken so long to write this type of book because they are so good. I said this exact line in my one book review. They were so good. This was spectacular. It was hilarious. Just like how Christina Lauren's books are always so funny. They're so witty. The characters are amazing. The chemistry is fantastic. The side characters are they're as fantastic as the main characters. This guy, Walter, I would give him my entire heart. He owns my heart, and he's not even the main character. He's just so sweet, so adorable, so kind, so funny, so huggable. They're all amazing. Please give this a shot. I don't care if you're not into like adventure-ish romance, or if you're not into contemporary romance. Give this a shot. It might convince you. And if you are new to reading, I think this might also be something that is like, it's relatively easy to keep track of, and it's fantastic. It will get you to think, to like try to figure out like, oh, what's going to be the next step? What's going to happen? And then there are plot twists, nothing you expected. Oh my god, the plot twists in here. I would give them all of my limbs if they could write something else that is like adventure romance, because it was so good. And I am sad that it's over, and I had a blast. You can't see. I had a blast annotating this. Like, I obviously did not super well. Yeah, I did a little. Oh yeah, it was so good. So good. Okay, after that I read the newly TikTok sensation, Funny You Should Ask, by Elisa Sussman, Infinity Stars. Okay, infinity and beyond. I am Buzz Lightyear. So this is about, okay, it explains in the book how to say her name, but I still feel like I'm not going to say it right. But I think it's Chani. I think that's how you say her name. It's Chani. Chani Horowitz. So she used to be like, not exactly sure if it's called like a journalist, but anyways, she wrote this article on this actor, Gabe Parker, who was going to be playing the new Bond. And he was an American. He was not, he was not British. He was not the traditional Bond, and people did not like that. They weren't going to go see the movie, and basically they hired Chani to write an article to convince them that he was going to be spectacular. And when they meet, sparks fly. And then they spend a weekend together, and then they never talk again for 10 years, because he gets married a week after that weekend. It's a whole thing, and that like breaks Chani's heart, and it's horrible. And then 10 years later, she is asked again by her agent and Gabe's people, because he's about to, if I'm not mistaken, he's getting back into like the movie field, and they ask her to write a follow up, and so she has to interview him again, and so they see each other again after 10 years, and he had to go to rehab twice for alcohol abuse, and now he's clean, he's better, and you get to go like you go from then and now, and you get to see how they were when they were 26 and 30 and how they are now at 36 and 40. And so it's back and forth, but it's not one chapter it's now, one chapter is then, one chapter it's now, one chapter it's then. It's more like an entire section of the book is then, another section is now, another section is then, another section is now. That's kind of how it was split up. And this made me feel so many things. The romance is amazing. The plot and the idea of this book is fantabulous. The way that they surpass the obstacles and just like, I don't know how to describe this. I guess like the healing in this book for both characters is spectacular. It truly is so good. And I mean, obviously like just the cover itself makes you want to buy it. It's funny, it's witty. Like, funny, you should ask. There's a reason why the word funny is in there. And it's like, the way that I've been saying it is if, I know I saw this on TikTok. Someone said, I could not agree more with this. If you were like someone that spent a whole lot of time on Tumblr, if you were like, or if you are someone that's very, very devoted to like an actor, an actress, or maybe a band or a music group or something like that, this is all of our dreams, because Chini was like a huge fan of Gabe Parker, and she was like fangirling to the core when she met him for the first time, and she had to interview him, and there's a little puppy, and oh my god, infinity stars. I told you, for this book I am Buzz Lightyear. Where's my suit? I love this so much. And if you haven't read it, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because this is the new book talk sensation. You need to read it, okay? For once, I have been disappointed by a few book talk books in the past. Not with this one. I promise. Not with this one. And then after that, I was in a bit of a slump, just a tiny bit. And I was feeling like reading manga, and I had bought this like not too long ago, and I decided to give it a shot. I read it in 20 minutes at like 10 p.m. and I rated this 4 stars because the girl, what's her name again? Tsugumi, she meets back with her high school crush, Itsuki. Like, they used to be those best friends, and she had a crush on him, but he got a girlfriend and all that. But he also got in an accident that resulted in him having a spinal cord injury that has left him in a wheelchair. And so she meets him again, and she's like, oh my god, what happened, you know? And by the end, she's like, she is in love with him all over again. And I just feel like that's often the case with manga, though. Like, if they meet back for the first time in like 10 years, the love is going to be instant, because the rest of the series usually revolves around their relationship. But I feel like this was just a teeny tiny bit too quick for her to fall in love again so quickly, because like if I compare this to something wilder, when Leo sees Lily for the first time, he's like, oh my god, I never stopped loving her. And this, it was like Tsugumi did stop loving him, and now she's just like, oh, my feelings are coming back. It just, something didn't fall in the right place. That's the one thing. But when I read the second one, it made sense. Here, how would I call this? The enemy, the other woman that is trying to steal him away from her, comes in. This is very, very typical of shoujo manga. It's expected to happen. We all know it. If you read shoujo, you know. You just know. And Oh my god, it's beautiful. There's something that happens in the second volume that just leaves you like, oh my god, so good. I love this. It is adorable. It is funny. It is like, it's emotional. It's very emotional as well. And it's amazing. It got me out of the slump. I loved it. This was 4 stars. The second volume was 5 stars. And this is Perfect World by Rie Aruga. I loved it. And then I read Blue Flag by Kaito. I had not expected this to be so good. It's hilarious. The art in here is spectacular. It's so funny. It is so funny. It's hilarious. I love this so much. So basically, Taichi, he's one of the less cool guys at school, and one of his childhood friends, Toma, he's the cool guy. Like, every girl wants to date him. He's good at sports. He's good looking. He's tall. You know, the stereotypical hot guy. And that's their words. That's what they call him. But anyways, they become kind of friends again. And then Futaba, which is this girl here, she comes to Taichi for help with Toma. And then he's doing his best to help her, but like at first he didn't really like her all that much because he couldn't stand her because she's small, she's a klutz. They call her like a hamster, that she looks like a hamster. I don't know, but he just doesn't have much patience in general, and so he doesn't have much patience for her, but he sees himself in her, and he tries to help her with Toma. And he hasn't realized this yet, but Toma is in love with him. Has been for ages. And so he's in love with her. She's in love with him. He's in love with him. And her best friend, I can't remember her name, but she is also in love with her. And I'm reading volume 2 right now. It is the sweetest, most adorable thing ever. The friendship in here is... They need to make this into an anime. So badly. It brought me to tears of sadness, of emotionalness, of laughter. It's so good! I strongly recommend this. 5 stars to the infinity. So good. And then I read Painting Reality by Believing by Naz Alhasaki. I know I did not pronounce this right, but Naz sent this to me a few months back. It took me a while to read it. I wanted to focus on it since it was gifted to me. And basically, this is a self-help book to help you be the best version of yourself and to just do that thing you've been wanting to do and stop saying like, oh, I'll do it when the time comes. The time will never come. That's what this helps you with. And what's so fun about this is that it's kind of like you have sections where there's like actual information, like telling you like this is what you have to do, blah blah blah, and then you have journal prompts before the next step, and then you have a bunch of quotes, and then a bunch of information. You have the 12 laws that are discussed, and it's very similar to The Secret, which I read. Actually, I listened to it. It does refer to The Secret in this. My mom was pretty interested in that book when I think I was 7 or maybe 8. But anyways, I remember going on a road trip and she had her iPod. For those of you who are part of my generation and older, you know like what an iPod is. You know, that type of iPod with the big circle, like not the iPod Shuffle, like the iPod. I'll put a picture because I don't remember the name. But anyways, she had The Secret on there, and so I listened to the audiobook of that when I was 8. And so it was so funny to see like a reference to that book that I read 12 years ago in a book that I'm reading now at 20. Well, 20. I'm 19, I'm turning 20 in like 2 months. Same thing. But I gave this 4 stars. It's a really, really, like, it's just that little push that you need to finally just do it. And the last book that I read was Weathering with You. I have not watched the movie. This manga is based off the movie, and it's by Makoto Shinkai, the same person who wrote Your Name. That movie destroyed me so many times. Oh my gosh. The amount of times that I have watched that movie and I still cry as much, like, every single time. And so that's why I'm scared of watching this movie, because I don't want to cry right now. I don't necessarily want to cry like that again. Probably this summer I will, though. And I decided, why not read the manga before I watch the movie, even though the manga is based off the movie. But I saw it when I was at Chapters yesterday, and I was like, give it to me now. I want to read this. And it's so great. The art in here is also very, very lovely. It's super interesting. Plot twists are fantastic. Basically, Hodaka runs away from his hometown, which is like an island. He runs away, and he runs away to Tokyo. And on the boat, he had met this guy who was like a journalist type person. Like, he investigated like supernatural events to write about in a journal. And so Hodaka runs away to Tokyo. He tries to do it by himself. He can't, so he goes to him. And this guy lets him live with him as long as, you know, he helps with the interviews and all that stuff. And then he meets this girl named Hina. And she possesses powers that can affect the weather. And they call her a sunshine girl because she can, like, summon the sun. And I just found this so interesting because when Hodaka finds out that she can summon the sun, he's not like, you know, like, he's not like Eugene in Tangled. He's just like, you're a sunshine girl? Like, that's normal. And it hasn't, like, the concept of a sunshine girl was not introduced until then. So I was a bit like, huh? Why are you not, like, scared or shocked? Or, like, that was confusing. But it's probably going to be explained somehow in the other books. This left on a rather big cliffhanger, and I desperately want the others. So I'm on a book buying ban, so maybe my boyfriend will buy them for me. Hint, hint. Weathering with You 2 and 3. Hello, if you're watching this. That was the last book. That was it. That was all. It was a very... No better feeling than seeing those lights pop on. Anyways, it was a very fun month. It was a fun month, and I can't wait for the month of June. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you might find a couple of interesting book recs from all the books that I talked about today. This was fun as always. I always love ranting about books. But anyways, I'm gonna get going, and I will see you guys in the next one.